Thank you for joining us for this momentous occasion and being part of our Big Blue Couch conversation. My name is Ken Wyatt, a proud Nyungar with Yamaji and Wongai heritage, and a former minister, federal minister, and a Beyond Blue board director. We're here today to celebrate the 10-year anniversary, which has been a partnership between Steel Blue and Beyond Blue. And on behalf of the Beyond Blue board, I'd like to personally thank Steel Blue for their steadfast support for Beyond Blue and their commitment to improving mental health for tradies and people right across the country. I want to begin by acknowledging country, the traditional owners of the land we're on, the Whadjuk people of the Nyungar Nation, and pay respects to their elders past and present. I'd also like to extend the acknowledgement and respect to all First Nations people across the country. I'd like to acknowledge those of us and those in the community who are living with and managing mental health conditions, such as anxiety and depression, their families, friends and supporters, and those affected by suicide. We're fortunate to have join us a group of esteemed members of the panel today to boot the blues and share with you the latest results from the Steel Blue's recent tradie survey. I'd like to introduce Steel Blue CEO Peter Bell. Peter has been with the company for over 10 years, including CEO for the last year. He's been a driving force not only in the company, but also in the partnership with Beyond Blue. I'm excited to introduce you to my good friend Georgie Harmon, the CEO of Beyond Blue. Georgie has been one of Australia's leading thinkers in mental health for a long time. Georgie also has been Deputy CEO of the National Mental Health Commission and your Senior Executive in the Health Department. We're also lucky to have Zach Loweth, the National Chair of the Australian Physiotherapy Association, Occupational Health. And thank you, Zach, for being with us. Last but not certainly least, we have Beyond Blue speaker Michael Weston, who I had the privilege of speaking to just a short while ago and was extremely impressed with the work that you do. Michael's been a Beyond Blue speaker for over 6 years and shares his mental health journey to help other people through theirs. You hear from all of our panels throughout today's Big Blue Couch conversation to shed a light on the current state of mental and physical health amongst tradies through our annual Beyond Blue survey, Beyond the Blue survey, which when you read it brings home some very salient points that we have to consider in the context of what we all do. To kick things off, I'd like to introduce Steel Blue CEO Peter Bell to share some of the highlights and importance of the partnership with Beyond Blue. Peter.
So some of the key statistics from the survey were, 1 in 2 said skilled shortages were a cause of poor mental health, which is, on the face of it, you'd think, how is that the case? The skill shortages would give you a lot of work and there's more money here and you can pick and choose your jobs, but it does lead to stress, right? And there has been, mental health consequences of that. 1 in 5 would not tell anyone if they had depression. So this is not a great result. It's 20% of people are not prepared to share that. But on the flip side, more people would reach out. So the awareness is improving each time we run this survey. 45% said poor mental health has had a negative impact on their relationships. So it's not just the person, it's also the partner and the impact that it has to them. And nearly 60% reported poor mental health impacted their physical health. And hence the tie-in now with Australian Physiotherapy Association. So I guess the key finding we had from this is that the stigma is still present, although improving. Tradies are still overrepresented significantly in the mental health space.
Peter, thank you very much. Georgie, you've been in mental health for a long time, particularly your journey through the Department of Health, where you played a key role, and then more recently in your new role as CEO of Beyond Blue. So would you like to share some of those trends of the state of mental health in Australia?
Sure. Look, this is such a great day. It's a decade of our beautiful partnership. I had to move the boots so I could see your face, as much as I love the boots. I arrived at Beyond Blue 10 years ago, and there was this box on my desk, and it was a pair of blue boots. And the partnership has strengthened and strengthened and strengthened. And I just really want to shout out to Steel Blue and their customers for supporting our work. Over that decade, you've raised $450,000 for our support service, and that's meant that 9,000 people in a really dark place have received free counselling and support, free, confidential, immediate. So it's an incredible partnership, and Steel Blue is showing real leadership in the mental health space, and actually not just talking about it, but doing stuff. And I think the survey is a really classic example about that. So what's going on with our mental health here in Australia? Look, it's not great. We're living in a very volatile, uncertain time. We know that the numbers are big, right? And the numbers have been big for a while. Stigma is improving. It is improving. We are talking about it more. But prevalence, the number of people who live with depression and anxiety is stubbornly static. And in fact, it's increasing, especially for young people. So we know that 1 in 2 of us, regardless of who we are, how much money we earn, where we live, our backgrounds, our cultures, will experience depression, a mental health challenge at some point in our lifetime. And that's 1 in 5 of us every single year. So suicide is the leading cause of death for young people in Australia. We lose 9 Australians every single day to suicide, and the ripple effects are profound. But I think all of this data is really important, but what it says to us is that this is so common. This is not about other people and the stigma and discrimination and shame that the survey uncovered again for us. I just want to, this is not about other people, it's about all of us. Every single one of us is either affected personally. I'm a person who lives with depression, or knows someone, or loves someone, or works with someone. So to all the tradies out there, you're not alone, and this is very common. So those are some of the numbers. In terms of what we're seeing in our services, people are coming to us with really complex needs, and they're coming to us sometimes too late. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Anytime anyone comes to us is a good thing. But we want people to come to us as soon as they start not feeling themselves. And that's what our new strategy is all about, like stopping problems snowballing, preventing symptoms deteriorating, and getting people help as early as possible.
Thank you, Georgie. Peter, Georgie has given us an overview of the state of mental health in Australia. Can I ask you to give us some more specific detail out of the survey that you've undertaken?
Well, almost 50%, so half, have spoken to a friend or family member about mental health. That was an outcome. 60% of respondents said they knew how to protect their mental health in times of stress. 2 in 3, so 66%, would feel comfortable seeking professional help, and nearly 30% said compared to 12 months ago, they noticed an increase in their workmates talking about mental health. So the biggest challenge on the trades is awareness and also stigma, right? So our boots, we try and get the message out through awareness. The more people talk about it, the more it's normalised, and the less stigma is attached to it.
Yeah.
So, they were probably the key things, Ken, that we saw from this year's survey. And yeah, the stigma is still, this word seems to be coming up all the time, and that's the challenge, isn't it?
It is, and that's one of the challenges that we've all have to deal with. So thank you, Peter. I'd like to welcome the National Chair of the Australian Physiotherapy Association, Occupational Health, Zach Lowe. Zach, the survey results reinforce the importance of both mental and physical health.
Absolutely.
And you play a key role. So what's your take?
So, for us, we've been really proud of our partnership with Steel Blue, running Tradies National Health Month. That kicks off today on the 1st of August. We've been running that every year for the last 12 years. We've seen, I think, tradies start to be a little bit more open, regarding their physical and mental health. I mean, I talk to tradies a lot. Both my younger brothers are tradies, are working construction. You know, so I think you kind of have that family element of it as well. Just on a personal level, Ken, like I grew up in a very blue collar sort of, you know, upbringing in North Queensland. So I think when you're around it a lot, and to Georgie's point, they're your friends, they're your family. Like everybody knows a lot of tradies, and we see them struggle both with their mental and their physical health. Part of what we've seen this year through the statistics and the survey that we did was just the amount of pain that tradies are in. So we did a survey, surveyed 1,200 tradies, and like 90% of them said that they were in pain or had an injury every day that they work. And I called my brother and said to him, I said, what do you think about this as a tradie who's working? And he said, yeah, that sounds about right. So, I mean, I think tradies they put up with things and they're resilient because I think they often don't put themselves first. But that's not great because you can have quite a poor outcome, you know, in the long term. So I think for us, we see these statistics and everyone can see them here on the screen, that, you know, that pain, for 3/4 of them, it's really impacting their quality of life. 42% of them are describing their pain as severe, and 87% of them are medicating or self-medicating, with 30% resorting to drugs or alcohol because of the pain that they're in that's related to their work. So there's such an opportunity there to improve things.
I thank you for that insight, Zach. I think because you make a very important point about your role in all of this as well.
Yeah.
But Michael, I was talking to you earlier, and you were saying to me one of the most important things is lived experience in telling the stories that you do for Beyond Blue. So I'd like you to share that with everyone here.
Yeah, sure. In 2013, my life changed forever. I had worked in the Pilbara region for 20 years in the mining industry. I was under a very stressful and demanding role, but I loved the job I did. I loved the place I worked. I loved the people I worked with. But unfortunately, like we've heard today, is I didn't look after myself. I looked after everyone else, but I didn't look after myself. So on the 19th of April in 2013, I was found collapsed out the front of my house, not breathing. I came through that, but for 12 months I went undiagnosed with an acquired brain injury. I returned to work and I just pushed through every day, having a panic attack, which I didn't understand because there was no education, but I just pushed through every day because in this industry that we live in those days, it was build a bridge and get over it. You know, dry your eyes, toughen up. So I did, I just pushed through. I didn't understand the signs because I was having a panic attack every day. So for every single day for the next 12 months until I actually found out that I had a brain injury, an acquired brain injury, I also used to cry my eyes out in plant for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I just find the dirtiest, dustiest, noisiest location because I knew no one else would be there. And I'd cry my eyes out for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Why? Because I couldn't do what I was trained, educated and competent to do anymore. And I felt so much stigma around mental health for myself, not for others, just for me, that I just had to not tell anyone. So I struggled with anxiety, depression, and also had thoughts of suicide. But lucky for me is I had people around me that were looking out for me, and I reached out to the doctors, which passed no judgment, referred me to psychologists and psychiatrists, and I got through the other side. And I got to do the best thing for my own mental health and for others is to join Beyond Blue as a volunteer and give back to the community and share my story. And I just love, I've got goosebumps talking about it. I love what I do. So, yeah.
Michael, thank you for sharing that wonderful story with us. Georgie, given Michael's story and experiences, mental health challenges can be overwhelming. So what is there out there for us to be able to access?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of formal supports, but there's also those informal supports that Michael talked about. I mean, I've worked in this business for a long time now, and I meet hundreds of people every week. who experience challenges with their mental health, and every single one of them, their first step to recovery started with a conversation. Whether that was a conversation with a mate at work, whether that was a conversation with a doctor, a GP, whether that was with their partner, the kid, whatever it was. We have to keep talking about this. We have to keep raising that awareness, reducing that stigma. But look, Beyond Blue is often the first place people start. We talk about the big blue door. We're there 24/7 with very evidence-based supports, a range of support options for people, and that are completely free and easy to access. So the first place to often people go is our website, where you can find all of the support options, including our online forums, which is an incredible online community where people support one another. And that's not just talking about it, that actually has a significant impact on their psychological well-being, significant improvements in people's confidence to talk about it, to act, to go and see their GP, to take a positive step for better mental health. And it also reduces distress. One interaction on those forums reduces people's distress. So really an incredible online community used by hundreds of thousands of Australians every month. We've also got our Wellbeing Action Tool, which is science-backed wellness. There's a lot of rubbish around wellness, but this is science-backed. So you can create your own individual wellbeing tool, the tiny little micro things that you can do in your life that actually will improve your mental health. We've had about 10,000 people download that tool in the last few months since we launched it. So there's just some of the resources that we've got. And of course, we've got the Beyond Blue support service, which runs around the clock every single day of every single year, where you can chat to a counsellor for free, either on the phone or online. And again, we see significant reductions in distress. We see people going on and connecting with services and actually recovering. These are all completely free services. And in terms of your workplace, we've got a whole section on our website which really provides very practical advice to both employers and employees. We've got a terrific service called New Access for small business owners. Guess what? It targets small business owners, and a lot of tradies run their own small businesses. That is a coaching service. It's a new type of service. All of our coaches have a small business background, so they understand what's going on for small business owners. And it's completely free. You don't need a referral. There's no barriers to access. You don't need a doctor's referral. You don't even need a diagnosis. We coach people back to better mental health over a series of 5 to 8 sessions, again, completely free. And 7 in 10 small business owners move from having absolutely diagnosable symptoms of depression or anxiety or both to full recovery. So 7 in 10 people are using that coaching service and actually getting better and learning skills to look after their mental health, to protect their business, to grow their business, to be more productive at work, to keep their business afloat in these times. So if you're well here, you're generally well in your body and your business thrives, or you're in a better position to help your business thrive. So the productivity impacts of this are also really significant. So there's just some of the things that are available. There are many, many others. Lifeline does amazing work supporting people in crisis. Men's Line Australia. And again, we talked about the mental health and physical health being the same, different flips, same sides of the same coin. Same with financial well-being. If you're struggling financially, your mental health suffers and vice versa. So we've got a strong relationship with Financial Counselling Australia, and the National Debt Helpline, again, is a free service that operates around the clock where you can get free advice from a financial counsellor.
Georgie, thank you. Zach, physical health.
Yeah.
So what support is there out there?
Well, we'd strongly recommend that tradies who are experiencing pain would see a physiotherapist. We know that when we spoke to the tradies and conducted the survey this year, 2/3 of them said that when they saw a physio, it was able to decrease the pain that they were experiencing. Now, with that being said, in surveys we've done, we know that tradies are more likely to spend money on their tools than they are on their bodies or their mental health. So that's what we're really wanting to do in Tradies National Health Month, is just encourage tradies to just, I suppose, take that look in the mirror and prioritise their own health and wellbeing across this month. to do that, jump on the Australian Physiotherapy Association website. So that's just Australian, .physio. And you can go there and find a physio in your local area that will be able to help. And if we think about the value of physiotherapy for tradies, we like to talk about the intersection between the workplace and the worker, because you can't really intervene with just one of those areas. And I think the walkthrough we did here was a fantastic example. We were looking at it from a little bit of an ergonomic kind of view and seeing, is the work set up properly? Can you modify workstations? And you could, it's fantastically set up here at Steel Blue. But it's those types of things that us as physios, we want to know, because it's important to give tradies those types of tools to be able to alter the work they're doing, as well as look after their own health, see a physio where they can, have some manual therapy, some exercises, but then also look at their workplace. Because you can get the work design right and you can be healthy, be seeing a physio, but if there's breakdowns with your workplace relationships and things like that, and it's a high stress, toxic environment, that won't be productive and can result in injuries, both physical and mental. So it's really important to look at all three sides of that triangle.
Thank you for those insights. To all of you, there are elements that sometimes we need to ask some questions. And George, I want to ask you, how do you start a conversation with a mate you're worried about?
Look, we use 3 simple words: ask, listen, and support. It's a terrifying conversation often for people. How's my colleague, my mate going to react? Yeah. Are they just going to deny anything that I say to them and tell me to bugger off? I always say to people, someone very wise once said this to me: it's better to risk a friendship and be a bit uncomfortable than lose a mate.
Yeah.
Again, conversations save lives. Yeah. So ask, hey, are you okay? I've noticed some changes in you. I'm a bit worried about you. Is everything okay? Is there anything you want to talk about? And then close this and open these. We've got 2 of these and 1 of these for a good reason. Sit and listen. Perhaps ask prompting questions. Don't interrupt. Don't try and solve the person's problem as much as we want to when we care about someone. So just sit and listen. And sometimes it's okay to just sit and be in silence. Sometimes it's what people need. And don't judge. Don't point out that they've got everything to live for and you've got a beautiful marriage and great kids and great job. And this is a disease that affects people and how their mind works, and they feel really rubbish about themselves. So those kinds of statements, as encouraging as they are intended to be, are really unhelpful. And then support. Hey, should we pick up the phone and call Beyond Blue together? Have you been to see your GP recently? Have you talked to your partner? Have you talked to your family about this? Do you think you might be able to tell your boss and maybe they can give you a bit of flexibility at work? So just be a mate. Sit and then give really pragmatic support. And I think the most important thing is follow up. Don't make it a one-time conversation. Check in after a few days and just say, hey, did you do that thing? I'm not going to go away. I care about you. I'm going to keep asking. And that is often at these times when someone's feeling so desperately alone and so desperately worthless and like a burden to others. Just having someone say, I see you, I can see something's going on for you, I care about you and I want to help you, can make all the difference.
Georgie, on the flip side, how do you start a conversation if you're worried about your own mental health?
Well, I've had to do this and it's tricky because you think, who do I trust? If I tell someone at work, are they going to think that I'm a bit flaky, I'm not going to be as reliable? So you really need to think about who you want to tell and choose someone that you really trust. Plan your conversation. Think about what you want to say. Be really precise and specific as you can. This is how I'm feeling. This is what's going on for me. The more information you give someone, the more they'll be able to help you. And don't be afraid to ask for help. And then, again, just know that you've got that network around you. Go back to them if you need a bit of top-up support. So it is tricky. So, you know, just again, find someone you trust, practice the conversation, be as specific as you can, and then accept help.
Georgie, thank you for that wonderful advice. Peter, employers can support their teams, but how do you go about it? Given what's in your staff survey, how does Steel Blue, as an employer or any employer group, take matters forward and help staff and their teams?
Yeah. So mental health, like all health, requires regular exercise. Talking about it regularly and practicing good habits is a big part of this within the organisation. First and foremost is culture. Look, it doesn't happen overnight. We started this journey 10 years ago, and you know there was stigma here around it, right? The leaders have got to be involved, and they've got to be committed, and that comes from top down. Our board take this seriously. Our executive team are trained. We've got staff here to take on the role of mental health first aiders. Wellbeing is enshrined in our purpose statement as an organisation. So, you know, it's part of our strategy discussions. We've got tools, both confidential and non-confidential, external providers, internal providers. We use Beyond Blue's toolkit, which Georgie talked about previously. There's, you know, a lot of great tools, frameworks, processes that an organisation can implement. We run annual Beyond Blue and Are You OK days. More of a celebration, I guess, than anything else. And, you know, we take the approach that it's dynamic. It's not just a set list of things, and it evolves and it changes with time. So it's an all-rounded, all-encompassing, culturally integrated approach.
Thank you for that. And I'm glad you mentioned boards, because boards are critical as well, and they're often left out of the thinking. It's left to the executive team. So it's an important stage that everybody's involved. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Can I jump in here? Because you walk, I've been here a few times, and you walk around the factory and you meet the guys making the boots, and they're so proud of working here. And like, if you've worked here for 10 years, you're a newbie, right?
Yeah.
It's 22 years and 30 years, and people don't stick around in a workplace unless it's a good workplace.
Yeah.
And good work is good for our mental health. So whatever you're doing it well. Well done.
Good
Thanks.
recipe.
Yeah.
So you've done extremely well. I know you can't get a job here because of the vacancies. Zach, many tradies face repetitive strain injuries due to the nature of their work. How do you explain how physiotherapy can make some changes or to reduce that burden?
Yeah, well, for sprain and strain injuries with tradies, we'd recommend taking like a risk-based approach with them. So you need to understand, you know, the work that they're doing, how often they're exposed to that, and then look to, you know, control that. But then also look to risk control the person's health. And then whenever they're having any type of like pain or niggles or anything like that, we're wanting to see them go and engage with a physio when it's 1 or 2 out of 10. Like, we don't want to see people when they're 9 out of 10 pain. Like, we still will, but it's a much more difficult situation, and I think they've been putting up with it for a lot longer. So our message to tradies when they are, you know, performing that repetitive work, and you know, we'd like to see them for early intervention, really. When it's 1 or 2 out of 10, and then we can see them, we can make some small modifications to their work. We'll do things like manual therapy, which might be like mobilisation, massage, those types of things, some exercise, and then intervene with their work as well. But we want to be doing that ideally early, and then looking to prevent it from occurring again. Because I think with anything, prevention is far better than having to do any rehab, and you see some really good examples of that with proper work design.
Except one challenge you'll have is often men will say, I'm too busy. How do you
For
deal
sure.
with that?
Yeah, look, it's a good point. Look, I think we just try and frame it to them like, I suppose, the upside of staying at work. And I think that there's a financial benefit to being able to stay at work, because if you're injured and you're away, like even if you end up on compensation and things like that, you're not doing overtime. Like, and I think it impacts their productivity and can impact their financial situation personally. not just for the business they work for. So I think if you can tie it to that and their own productivity and their own ability to earn a living, then you can get them to come and see a physio.
No, sound advice. Michael, what advice would you give if someone came to you and didn't feel as though they were getting the professional help and support they needed?
I think it's relative to when we all go to the doctor, we don't have that connection. And we look for another doctor that we have that human connection and they're listening to us. So in my personal experience, I think I saw 3 psychologists before I actually was comfortable with that psychologist. It wasn't that those other psychologists weren't doing their job, I just didn't have that connection. So it was about just actually shopping around and getting that connection. And once I got that person that I found that was good for me, I just flourished, So just keep looking and keep searching.
And if they're still frustrated?
Go back to your GP.
Yeah.
Speak to your GP. The GPs, they don't pass any judgment. They've got a list of people who they can connect with. For me, when I told my story, they knew specific psychologists that I could go and speak to. So that always helps. So your GP, first point of contact.
Yeah, for sure.
And Zach, what would be your key message to anybody who comes to you?
Anybody who comes to me, particularly a tradie, I would say prioritise your own health and wellbeing during Tradies National Health Month. And at a minimum, look to intervene early, okay, rather than letting things drag out and become a much larger problem, which is going to require a much larger intervention. Early intervention and prevention would be my message.
And Peter, you've been doing these surveys for a while. What one thing stands out as being of concern to you that might be a continuous episode within the way in which the reports come?
Well, the stigma.
Yeah.
Stigma in trades is, it's real, right? It's there. We're seeing it improve a little bit. I think women coming into the trades are helping with that as well.
Yeah.
But it just requires a lot of the stuff we've talked about throughout this morning. Talking, awareness, normalising.
Yeah.
But it takes time.
No, thank you. Georgie, something that all of us do sometimes is we say, I'm worried, I've seen friends and family that might not be well, but I haven't done anything about it. Should I feel bad that it's too late or that I've ignored an important emotion?
No, I think a lot of people, worry about interfering or, getting too personal or upsetting someone or don't quite know the right words and are worried about using the wrong words and upsetting them or making it worse for them. So I'd say it's never too late, Make it today, make it tomorrow. Practice what you want to say. Have a real think about, try and be specific about what you've noticed. That's always helpful for someone because you can't... The mask that often people put up when they have depression, you go, oh, okay, that mask isn't working now. Maybe I need to take it down. People are seeing what's going on. So, and practice, like any big conversation. We prepare for job interviews, we prepare for marriage proposals, This is a really important conversation. Practice and use your own words. Don't try and sound like, a professional. You're not. You're not a mental health professional. You're a mate. You're a loved one, you're a colleague.
Which is good advice because it's never too late to intervene or provide that level of support at any stage in someone's life. But I thank you all to the panel for your time and for your passion in supporting tradie mental health and wellbeing.
Yep.
Each of you have shown the passion and commitment that you have to the people who work for you or who you are associated with. To wrap up, I'd like to highlight a few of the key takeaways from today's session. First one is starting a conversation is an important first step in helping the mental health and well-being of yourself or a workmate. Secondly, there are many free tools and services available to help support the mental health and well-being of yourself or your workmates, starting with the Beyond Blue website and support service. Finally, congratulations to Steel Blue and Beyond Blue for 10 years of partnering together We're looking forward to many more years partnering together and continuing to support the mental health and wellbeing of the tradie community. If you feel you need some support after today's session, please reach out for help. The Beyond Blue support service provides 24/7 free counselling advice and referrals via phone, web chat or email. You can call a Beyond Blue counsellor 24/7 on 1300 22 4636 or chat to a counsellor online, the web chat / email on www.beyondblue.org.au/get support. And thank you to everyone that has joined us here today online, and we hope that you've been able to take something out of today's session with the panel, and certainly with your own thoughts as we've reflected on the key issues that impact on us in terms of the emotions that we experience and the mental health that we see within our community. So thank you all very much for today's invaluable session.
Thank you.